Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective. Tran and I getting ready to preview a very, very important game in Austin, Texas. Our beloved Texas Longhorns facing off against the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Tran, it's Gundy season coming up here, so we're going to kick off everything. Tran, how you doing? First and foremost.
Doing great. How you doing?
Doing well, doing well. And you know what? I'm doing even better because I got BUSR on my side, the official sponsor, the official betting partner, the official sports book of Fanatic Perspective. Hit up busr.com/fanatic. Hit that promo there, Sports 100FP, 100% matching on free play. So 100% matching on deposits, excuse me, 100% free play. 5-time rollover promo, Sports 100FP on busr.com/fanatic. This game, Tran, believe Texas comes out 5-point favorites, 60-point total on this game. We've had some interesting, the overs have been in play for us here outside of, I believe, TCU. So, if you guys want to take advantage of that, we're constantly talking scores. We will have our predictions at the end of this video. Hit up busr.com/fanatic. Appreciate it. Now, before we get into Oklahoma State, as we're recording this, it's Wednesday, and some very interesting news out of Norman, Oklahoma. And I don't remember the last time I've seen this much drama midseason up north, especially coming off of their dramatic comeback victory against us in the Red River shootout. And here we are, the Spencer Rattler news. Is he on campus? Is he not? All these type of things. Is he starting? Is he not? Is it Caleb Williams? And Lincoln Riley pulls the dictator move of all dictator moves and shuts down the media. And they will not do any media at all. No media availability until after their game against TCU this weekend. So a lot of drama up north. I just was on with Chris and Seth last night on the live for everybody that attended. Thank you. And you can tell those of you out there who you can tell they're 6-0, but they're not through this period of drama, and we'll see how that impacts them the rest of the season as we try to obviously get ourselves back and play for the Big 12 title. Very interesting.
It's very interesting to me. This has all the familiarities of what Spencer Rattler did in high school. Honestly, right? QB1, didn't he do the same thing? Just like midway through a week, he just decided he wasn't going to play for the rest of the season. Isn't that what happened?
I don't remember. I didn't watch all of QB1. I only saw clips of it.
Yeah, but I
Of
saw
this
up to
season.
I saw up to that point because there was the big story of him talking to his backup quarterback and his backup quarterback saying that you're going to either win the Heisman for OU or you're going to lose to Texas and not do anything or something like that. That was the prediction from the backup quarterback. But it's strange to me. It's like I understand it's a huge quarterback controversy. You know, both of them are 5-star. Both of them were very respected in their classes, and you just don't see this that much from Oklahoma, especially when they are doing well. I mean, they haven't moved the ball the way that they normally move it until they played Texas, and to still be 6-0, chasing their 7th Big 12 championship and keeping their playoff hopes alive, it's got to be distracting. And I wish that. I mean, honestly, I really don't care what Lincoln Riley does in retrospect. I don't care at all. But you know, when we face something like this with Hudson Card and also Casey Thompson, I'm kind of glad that we just pulled the Band-Aid and said, "Hey, Casey won the job."
That's my point here, and that's the reason why I'm bringing this up, because I really do like how Steve Sarkisian has navigated the more difficult things since he's been here at Texas, and it's not easy being a coach with the spotlight you have. And I think you're starting to see the difference between coaching somewhere in a bigger market where there's a lot of eyeballs on you, i.e., Austin, Texas, and the boosters and everything that comes with it, versus a small town in the middle of nowhere where you can do whatever you want. Yes, Lincoln Riley has won football games. No doubt he's a football genius, football mastermind, all the respect in the world. But when you're where he's at, you can get away and do whatever you want. But that can only fly for so long. Now, we got here because the story is, the students at I think it was the OU Daily student newspaper, went on top of one of the buildings and were, kind of taking the binoculars out and doing the old Bill Belichick style Spygate. And, obviously found out what everybody already knows, that Caleb Williams is going to be the guy against TCU. And why wouldn't he be, considering what he just pulled off last week? And I agree with you. Steve Sarkisian, we knew the obvious. We were in the same situation with Casey Thompson Hudson Card. We knew the obvious coming out of Arkansas, and he opens his Monday presser after after we got our ass whooped, opens the Monday presser right away and controls the narrative, takes over the story. Casey Thompson's our guy, going into the Rice game. Hudson Card will play. Hudson Card will be ready to play, and we move forward. It wasn't deep. He didn't make it, it wasn't this whole big, dramatic thing. And I believe that, Lincoln Riley could have avoided all of this because you're essentially punishing all of the media for something that happened with the students and they broke a story, right? But it's a story that didn't
Everyone
really
knew.
need to be broken. Right. Right. So there's a lot of drama, and we talk about this. There's a lot of drama around that football team, and I'm telling you, they're not through it, in my opinion. I could be wrong. They could end up in Arlington, and they just figure out a way to get through it every single week. But the signs are there for something to happen, in my opinion. But hey, we move forward. Oklahoma State for us is on the docket. Enormous game. Number 12 team in the country. Oklahoma State's 5-0, coming over from Stillwater, Oklahoma. Mike Gundy, who's been in the conference forever, one of the usual suspects. We've had our difficulties with Oklahoma State in the past. Now, Tom Herman, to his credit, the last couple years was able to defeat Oklahoma State. Tran, you and I went to that game, when we got to see Spencer Sanders when he was a freshman, and we went to the game in 2019. Keontae Ingram had a big game, and we kind of got right after a disappointing start to the season after LSU and whatnot, and we had a good day there. Then last year was probably our biggest win of the season when they were number 6 in the country, and the Joseph Osai game in overtime, and Joseph Osai has a legendary performance for the ages. And so we do have a 2-game win streak over Oklahoma State. But, Tran, this defense, especially, they're playing football and they have a ton of experience at all 3 levels of their defense. This isn't the same, typical Mike Gundy explosive, monstrous offense coming in here. But they're 5-0 because of defense and playing disciplined football.
Yeah, they are. They rush the passer well. They pressure. They've always been a very physical secondary too. I mean, we saw that back in the day when I forgot which cornerback it was, but he basically owned Colin Johnson.
AJ Green.
Yeah, AJ Green. Thank you. But no, they have experience at all 3 levels. Thing I'm worried about is our weak point. Our offensive line last week graded at a single-digit PFF level, and they rushed the passer very well. So I'm nervous about their defense, to tell you the truth.
So I think when you look at Malcolm Rodriguez and Harper and Harvell Peel and McAllister, even Brock Martin, who had a good day against us. Lacey had 2 or 3 sacks against us last year. You have all these guys who are, I think, outside of Lacey, they're all seniors. So they've all played hella football. Harvell Peel, it seems like he started all 4 years. We know Malcolm Rodriguez is one of the best linebackers in all the Big 12, one of the best inside linebackers in the country. And, they've put out a phenomenal, fast product, right? I will say this, though. And I do think two things with our offensive line challenges. We know we have some things switching up this week. Shout out to Tope Amade, who will be getting his opportunity to start at right guard, moving Junior Angela over to left guard, which means Derek Kerstatter goes back home to right
To right
tackle.
tackle. Yep.
Yes. So we are switching up the line a little bit, getting a little bit more size in there. Tope is one of the biggest guys on the team. And hopefully shoring up some of those issues. And and when you grade at a single digit, you have nowhere to go but up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as good as these guys are, no disrespect to Brock Martin or Lacey or Ossie, the big boy they got in the middle. That's not necessarily Isaiah Thomas and Nick Benito and Perion Winfrey, right? And still very, very good group. And I think at all three levels, they're better than OU for sure because, we were able to clearly exploit OU secondary. We were able to clearly exploit the tackling in the open field with their linebackers and all of those things. We just had trouble on the edges against OU. Oklahoma State's fast everywhere. They have a lot more experience than OU does. So it balances out. But Steve Sarkisian showed me something even at the beginning of the OU game of moving the pocket, play action, quick RPOs, quick screens, all sorts of different things to protect your quarterback, to protect your run game. And really, we haven't used the excuse of a weak offensive line, at least recently, since I would say Big 12 play started, not to put points on the board. Even against TCU, TCU, we should have had 40 plus if we get in the end zone a couple more times and not screw up on our own selves at the goal line, right? Or do something stupid. So when you look at those factors there, Texas has been very successful offensively, being able to put points on the board, despite the fact that you have pass protection issues. That's one of the reasons why Casey Thompson was inserted into the lineup was to he could just deal with it anyway. You know what I mean? So I'm very, very fascinated to see how we match up because on the back end, I think we will get challenged a little bit more, and especially missing Jordan Whittington and how we replace him. So I know you wanted to touch on the loss of Jay Witt for our offense.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, the person that comes to mind that's going to step in there is the next man up is Marcus Washington, right? So, I mean, the things that he does well, blocking, and I know in high school he was great pass catcher. We need to see it at this level, and now it needs to accelerate. His development needs to accelerate because Xavier Worthy, there's going to be he's now got the Bijan Robinson treatment where, hey, you need to know where number 8 is. You need to know where number 5 is. A lot of teams are going to say, hey, those two cannot beat us. We'll see. We'll test to see if other people beat us. And that's where Joshua Moore had a very big game last game. Hopefully that helps up his confidence. I hope we can get that third wide receiver because that just makes us even more dangerous.
So. Absolutely. Especially in 11 personnel. And that also goes for the tight ends when we go 12 personnel. We did a lot of 12 personnel against OU where we had success running the football. But I need Cade Brewer, I need Jared Wiley to be present in the pass game too. And, tight end is really crucial here because they're going to have to help in some areas in pass pro when we have some of those long developing routes.
Question: how many times was Jared Wiley targeted in the OU game? I know he had a touchdown.
Twice, I think.
Twice?
I think both of them were just end zone plays. And then the other ones, at least from what I recall off the top of my head, I think the other ones were to Cade Brewer.
Okay, so, I mean, that's not technically his fault then. Cade Brewer, I don't have the numbers in front of my face. So, someone please in the comments let us know. I could look it up afterwards, but I'll probably forget by the time this gets posted. But so please let us know because we do need to get that. Jared Wiley, I think, is a matchup nightmare. And if we're not targeting him 3 to 4 times a game,
though.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen flashes over the years, but he to be fair to him, he had one real early in the game where Casey overthrew it, and then he had one on the basically a play action where he got hit in the end zone for a touchdown, and he caught it. Right, he's
Yeah.
wide open. So he hasn't. It's not like he's gotten a whole bunch of action, and his blocking has been up and down. There's been times where he's been on his game blocking wise, and there's been times where he's gotten his ass whooped in pass pro too.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's just consistency with some of these guys. And then when they do get when their number is called, whether it's him or Cade, even Cade can't drop football, right? Wide open.
Yep.
So those type of things will help, because when we go in that set, I imagine it's going to be Xavier Worthy and Joshua Moore. If I'm talking to Joshua Moore, I just need the guy that showed up against OU, and we seem to get timed up a lot better on some of those deeper routes. So that's encouraging to see. What I'm looking for is, where Jordan Whittington was really, really good for us was making the contested catch over
the middle. Exactly.
third
And
down.
that's I
That's going to
don't
be.
know if we have that replication. I don't know except for our tight ends. I don't know.
I haven't seen that from anybody
Yeah.
else on a consistent basis. Now, if Xavier Worthy keeps the party going, then it might be a moot point.
Yeah.
If he keeps balling the way he's balling and having, 50 plus yard touchdowns and just smoking the defense and guys can't run with him, then what we're talking about right now may end up being a moot point if he continues at the pace that he's at. Because when you have a 260 plus yard game, that gets everybody in the country's attention. But, we know we've also watched this team over 6 games, and we know how valuable Jordan Whittington has been and how productive he's been. He had a very productive year once he was finally healthy. So, best of luck to him in the clavicle. Now, for me, we kind of talked about strength on strength, right? And Bijan Robinson, he's obviously the main focal point for us, and will be the main focal point for Oklahoma State's defense. Now, we have had success over the last couple of years with our running backs. Keontae Ingram probably had his best game as a Longhorn, or one of his best games as a Longhorn, a couple of years ago against this group. Last year, we had a weird game in Stillwater where Ingram got hurt, remember? And then it was really just Roschon and Bijan Robinson when he was finally ready to go. Bijan actually had, I think, 13, 14 carries against these guys last year. Now, we know Bijan Robinson has ramped, to being arguably the best player in college football, or maybe the most complete player in college football, however you want to look at it. He's ramped to that point where I'm telling people, as good as you guys have seen, they saw Deuce Vaughn as well, like OU saw Deuce Vaughn. Boise State, Tulsa, Baylor. The runner from Baylor's good, by the way. That kid's good. We'll cover him in around Halloween. They have not seen a football player like Bijan Robinson. So the same thing applies for what we talked about with Oklahoma, and people kind of slept on him a little bit because OU had success slowing us down the run game. It doesn't matter whether you fill gaps, you're there and contain. Bijan Robinson is going to be the mark man. But guys, this is, and for those of you stat heads out there, Texas is averaging 44.5 points per game on the season, which is good for 5th in the country. Texas is 5th in the country in scoring. Now, Oklahoma State right now is only allowing 18 points per game. They've done a great job of keeping people really in the 20s, 20s, 20 and below, right? And so strength on strength is what we're leading off here. The big question marks in this football game, and I think where we'll see the difference of who wins, honestly, is Oklahoma State's offense, which has really been struggling, versus the Texas defense, which has really, really been struggling. And to me, where I get nervous is I look at Spencer Sanders, and I understand he's still, even as much time he's in now, he's still a one read, and take off mobile quarterback. That's what the guy is. However, he ran for $150 on us his freshman year. He threw for 400 yards last year. Yeah, I think that's the most yards he's thrown for. So he's had some really good days against Texas the last couple years, just like Max Duggan, right? And so Where I'm coming into this looking at is his skill set is somewhat similar to the guy we just had problems with last week, the guy that we had problems with in Fayetteville, and some of the things they can do out of zone read. This is a great test for our defense to clean these things up. You can't keep getting beat by the same stuff. Now, Oklahoma State does not run counter the way that Oklahoma viciously ran counter at us, but they have a good transfer runner in Jalen Warren, and they have Tay Martin on the outside as the one read guy that they'll try to get the football to. Texas. With that being said, Oklahoma State scored over 30 one game this year. Stop them. And you get out of this thing. You get out of this thing. There's a reason why Texas is still, the way as highly as Oklahoma State's ranked, there's a reason why Texas is favored in this game by almost a touchdown. And it's not just because we're at home. So I want to see, Tran, in your opinion, what do you need to see from the defense, specifically from the Texas defense, that we haven't been seeing, or what adjustments can we make to get back on track and have a good day on Saturday?
I think Keandre actually said it the best. You have to hold up your blocks. You can't get knocked off balance. If your gap is the B gap, your gap's the B gap. You don't get knocked over to the A gap or anything like that.
Right.
Be strong. I mean, we've been saying this all year. We want to see them get mad. I mean, people are talking crap about you being weak. I mean, and I'm not talking about Keandre. I'm talking about the defensive line. That's been the position group that we said should have been a strength for us, and it should be. I think we have dogs, and they're still.
Well, they've been massively
learning.
Disappointing so far.
Yes, massively disappointing. With that said, this team with the talent that we have, Oklahoma State should not score over 24 points against us if we play sound defense. We tackle into space. When we hit someone behind the line, you wrap up. If you can't get it, you wrap them up and hold on until someone else can lay them out. Honestly, we can't let this offense also play with a short field. So our special teams needs to play well. This is not a high score. This is not going to be an explosive offense that we're playing. It'll be an offense that's efficient and can move the chains if we let Spencer Sanders get out of the pocket,
get going with his legs,
and we don't play proper gap assignment, and we don't play proper contain. It's that simple. You just have to play responsible and assignment defense. I can see Overshone having a big game this game, honestly, because a lot's going to be put on his shoulders as a spy, as a rusher. I honestly don't think we should play many three-man fronts against this team. To tell you the truth, we should make them try to beat us on the edge, which I think our defensive backs actually play the run pretty well by not getting actually blocked and held off of the play. And our linebackers are actually tackling well in space. So if we get them in quick 3-and-outs, we will have many opportunities to score against this team.
So and this is also, again, where complementary football comes into play, and I want to keep hitting on this. Texas has been, and Steve Sarkisian, they've been trying to jump people at the beginning of games. And I love it. I love it. They're trying to get up 14-0, 21-0 in the first quarter recently, right? And, it worked to our advantage against Texas Tech. It should have worked to our advantage against OU. And even in the TCU game, I mean, as poor as we started with special teams and some of the weird stuff that happened at the beginning of that game, they ultimately got points on the board too, right? Mm-hmm. And so Texas is one of the issues, I think, defensively, because you mentioned tackling. I know somebody probably cringed because they're like, well, Chan, we had all these missed tackles. I think the missed tackles are coming later in the game because the defense is getting worn down. I don't see them, now, yeah, Luke B missed a tackle on Zach Evans to open the TCU game, but I don't see the tackling epidemic early in these football games. I see it happening throughout, whether it's an issue of, we're scoring fast and a lot of change of possessions, or, at the end of the game, we're not getting off the field on third down and people put together these long drives and just move the ball on us. And now we're not finishing, right? We're just not finishing. And we start piling up, just a bunch of bad tape, right? So how do we help them, right? In terms of trying to keep them off the field. Maybe this is a game where, you know, we do a little bit better job as Oklahoma State adjusts to us and what Jim Knowles is going to throw out there, defensive coordinator at Oklahoma State. Maybe, you really focus on just trying to move the sticks. Either one, right? Either you're trying to move the sticks or you're trying to score so many points that you drown the opponent, like you did with Tech, where once Tech got going, it didn't even matter because you're about to hit 70. Now, the other aspect is where can we get other points from, right? So last season, we got a 100-yard kick return from Deshaun Jameson. Huge play in that game. Tech, we had a pick six. So we've had opportunities to get our hand. Last week, we had a block punt, which, I know that we didn't score a touchdown there, but that technically, even though the offense punched that in, that technically was a special teams. To me, that's almost a special teams touchdown, right? So where can we get up some other points? Every little different place where we can try to steal points or steal opportunities from, just to take the pressure off of our defense and let them play one way. And I'd also like to see Pete Kwiatkowski, who's coming under fire this week. And that's fine. And people want to be critical. The defense is, we're 106th or whatever the number is in rush defense. Lord knows what we're giving up, in the other stats, right? I would like to see them condense the playbook a little bit, try to rotate few more guys, get some fresh bodies in there, and just have them playing fast. I'm with you on the three-man front. Roy Miller has been talking about the amount of different fronts we're running and all this type of stuff. Let's simplify the fronts. Let's get consistent and have our guys playing fast with these linebackers.
And do it by a game-to-game basis. So, I mean, the opponent that we have, there's no one that honestly just terrifies me like a Tylan Wallace did over the top.
Sure.
So you can get away with playing 7 men around the ball, around the line of scrimmage. You can get away with that until they prove you otherwise.
But hey, some people may say we bring the safety down because there's been a lot of talk about, hey, we playing too much too high. Let's bring the safety down and try to combat that with, Tran. But then they start throwing 50-50 balls like OU did, right? But for against us, are they 50-50 balls or are they 70-30 balls? Because we don't play the ball. Like, those are the risks that you run because that's the
50-50 ball to Denzel Mims. Do they have a guy like Denzel Mims out there? I mean, be honest. Be honest with me. Do you think
no? Tay Martin's a good player, though.
Yeah, he's a good player.
I wouldn't say he's Denzel Mims. I wouldn't say he's Marvin Mims from OU last week.
Yeah.
Were you talking because Denzel Mims is a boy?
Sorry. Yeah. Baylor. Sorry.
No. Whether it's Denzel Mims or Marvin Mims or Hazelwood or whoever you want to throw out there, or Tylan Wallace.
Yeah.
Do they have that guy? I mean, historically, if you look at Oklahoma State, Tran, they've always been. This Gundy attack has always been pretty streamlined around quarterback, lead runner, lead receiver. That's where a lot of the action goes, right? Going back to Mason Rudolph, Justice Hill, James Washington.
Mm-hmm.
Then you get the guy that lost his hair, Taylor Cornelius. You got the old guy back there, Taylor Cornelius, Justice Hill, Chuba Hubbard.
Drop 300 on us.
and they beat us on quarterback draw with the knee brace, right? We always give it up to the white guy in the knee brace. That's just automatic against Texas. So then they go to Sanders, Chuba, Tyler. Now they have they'll have the Dylan Stoners and Tyron Johnsons and some people that will, get some numbers here and there. But it's always been their attack is simple in terms of how we get our main dudes, our main weapons, the football, right? I mean, we're kind of getting that way with Bijan, Xavier, Casey. And we draft off of that, right? And so that's fine, but that's how they play football. So if they see those one-on-ones, they're going to throw it up. And I would if I was them. If I'm Gundy, I'm like, look at this film. They don't know how to play the ball in there if they get
Yeah.
isolated, right? Or they might start freaking out and start getting grabby, right? And we start getting PI calls all over the place. So I would test it. Look at the tape against Texas Tech and Columbia and them. I would test it. So Texas has to prove those two things. I do think this defense plays better at the beginning of games, and that's what's helped them jump some of these opponents. Even the Arkansas game, they played well. I mean, they played not well, but they played okay in the first half. They weren't
Yeah.
terrible. They got worn down. So we've got to figure out the back end of, the late in the third quarter, fourth quarter. How do we get because something happened with OU. OU people were playing better at the end of the game on defense, vice versa.
Yeah.
So, making those adjustments in the game, if there's something happening with quarterback run, when we have a potential quarterback switch, what if we jump all over Spencer Sanders and they throw Shane Illingsworth in the game and he's more of a, RPO quick pocket passer type. And all of a sudden we're thrown off because this guy's doing something else. So we got to be prepared.
Yeah.
We got to be prepared for those things though.
Yeah.
Because we've seemed to have our opening pitch looks good. Our opening script looks good. But once somebody throws a wrench in there, it's gotten really screwy for us on defense, win or lose. So we've got to be prepared for these things, or better prepared to counteract these things that may occur in the middle of these football games. Tran, before we get to our predictions, this is an enormous recruiting weekend for Texas. So not only our focus of trying to get to Arlington and beating this Oklahoma State team who's got, right off the bat, strong wins in the Big 12. Great. I know that they beat Kansas State when Kansas State didn't have Skylar Thompson, but at the time they were ranked, they beat them. They beat a good Baylor team, high-level competitive game. This is an opportunity, though, opponent aside, to show up again the way we showed up against Texas Tech when we had a lot of guys on campus here at the end of September, and we were able to leave with some buzz, leave with, we end up getting the Brennan Thompson in here to commit to us. Arch Manning will be here on Saturday. That we talked about trios, right? So him, Ruben, Jonte, they're here. Jacoby Matthews got his 5th star from 247, safety from Louisiana. And sky is falling over there at LSU. You have a chance to come in here and swoop that kid. And Jacoby Matthews is going to see our safeties and be like, hey, I can play here right away. Right? And so just looking at all these things, this is an enormous recruiting weekend for Texas, and that cannot be overstated, in my opinion.
It's huge. It's huge. We have to play well. I mean, it's a big game too. Our top 25 matchup. What is this? Our third 11 a.m. game in a row. So we should be prepped. We should be used to playing at 11.
This game would have been at 6:30 if we had beaten OU.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, we have the blueprint at least from Tech, where we, ended up, as Sark said, he ended up getting to spend the rest of the day with just hanging out with the recruits. So that'll obviously be the blueprint, assuming we handle our business in Austin. But continue.
It's big, especially the first name on the board, Arch Manning, not Archie. Sorry, Manning. Him. If I know he's had Texas in his top 2, I think it's been Georgia and Texas head to head. We make a huge impression on him. If Casey Thompson goes off, it puts that little seed in his head. Like, hey, I could see myself doing this here. I could see myself with, and then possibly with him getting on board somehow. Then maybe the offensive line talent starts coming. It's a huge piece, and it can't be understated. Just the fact that Ruben Owens and Jonte Cook are also here as well. Maybe a little strategy place to say, hey, come visit during this weekend as well. But I mean, it can't be understated, because that's where championships are won is through recruiting.
And I hope they get some of those linemen, in here. I'm not sure if there's anybody else I'm missing. I heard the visit list is huge. I know the recruiting gurus in the comments will respond to that. Um, but yes, these are the splash plays, especially Arch Manning shows up to your program, and I know people are going to get, oh, s- get some type of way when I say Chris Sims, but you got to remember when Chris Sims signed with Texas and came to Texas, everybody came to Texas at that point. Everybody wanted to play with the number one player in the country. So Arch Manning comes here, regardless of how you feel about a big name at Texas or anything like that. It's what he attracts. It's what he attracts. There's a reason why these guys are here lined up on the same weekend he'll be in town. So it's very obvious. I mean, look at the Georgia visits when he was there and who was there with him at Georgia. These kids aren't dumb, right? It's Trevor Lawrence. When Trevor Lawrence got to Clemson, a lot of those kids that played offense and defense wanted to go to Clemson. Just the ball with 16. So it's
Mm-hmm.
going to be the same thing with Arch Manning, and you're coupling him, and he's looking at Steve Sarkisian and what he's done with these quarterbacks, and you're seeing it again with Casey Thompson, who's fourth in passing efficiency in the country, who has an excellent touchdown interception ratio, who's coming off of a damn near 400-yard performance, 5 touchdowns, no turnovers, under straight up duress the entire game, right? So when you start to see the names that keeps getting stacked together by Steve Sarkisian and his brilliance as a football mind, that can sway things with a prospect like Arch Manning and the kids that are here. But we've got to show that. I need to see the same energy from Texas, and to give Texas the benefit of the doubt as we roll into our predictions. They've brought it at home this year. There have been no hiccups at DKR, starting with Louisiana. And that was when we had Hudson Card in there, and we looked fantastic. So across the board, at home, we've looked good. Now, coming onto Texas soil, DKR soil, this will be the best opponent we face at home all year. No disrespect to K State and Kansas, who we'll finish our home slate with. But the big dogs that we have to face after Oklahoma State are on the road. So Oklahoma State is a big, big dog that we have left to play at home. So, with that being said, do you want to go ahead with your prediction?
Yes. I do have respect for their defense, and I'm going to go 38-31 Texas.
38-31 Texas. Any weird stuff happening in your outcome, or do you think it's just close game, we pull it out, or we start fast and hold on? What
I
do you
think I think we start fast, but I think that the defense starts locking in on us, and we start seeing a little bit of one or two drives do go the same way that Oklahoma went, and then you'll start seeing the offense have like a little seed of doubt. But we'll pull it out and start moving the ball again because we have number 5 right behind us.
agree? um so I'm gonna go ahead and pick Texas as well to win this football game. I'm very nervous about our defense. Very, very nervous about our defense, just from a standpoint of clicking and confidence and whatnot. But I think you have to go a different direction if you're this staff. And I think you have to just say, look, even with Jordan Whittington being out, offense, can we put more on you to just go out there? You know what? Let's try to score points. And I know this Oklahoma State defense is very, very good. But again, Bijan Robinson is a different animal. Xavier Worthy is a different animal. Casey Thompson is playing with supreme confidence right now. And I believe we're going to get somebody else to step up. I think whether it's a Joshua Moore having a good game, or if we can finally get more Keelan Robinson in there, any of these brothers, Calvante Dixon, possibly whoever, I think you'll get another guy to really step up. Um, and I think we're going to generate some turnovers. Spencer Sanders, 5 touchdowns to 4 interceptions on the year, throwing the football. He's another 2 on the ground. Spencer Sanders will give you the rock. And Baylor, Dave Aranda, what he's doing over there defensively, I'm very impressed with him.
Mm-hmm.
They were able to force him into a lot of mistakes over there and cherry pick some things. But when I say reset my expectations, I think we'll give it up in between the 20s. I just, until I see them really have this schematic shift or the light bulb comes on for a lot of people, I think we'll give up yards. I think Jalen Warren will run the ball well on us more than he has all season. Not that he's running poorly, but I think he'll have success. I think Spencer Sanders will have success running the ball on us. But I think we'll be able to generate some turnovers and just reset the floor with the defense, where it's like, hey, let's try to score enough points to where they just can't swim with us up
Yeah,
here.
that's a good
Even though
point about you talking about us giving it up between the 20s. We talking about the injury of Jordan Whittington. We didn't even touch on Jacoby Jones, who possibly could have been our best pass rusher, honestly. And the loss of him could be huge, or Ogofu possibly could step up as a big addition for us.
So I'm going to pick the game 48-36 Texas. And I think when I talk about resetting the floor, again, thinking about even what OU went through a few years ago when we beat them and they fired Stoops and they have Ruffin McNeil, and they basically were like, defense, we know y'all going to give up at least 35, but get some turnovers and get some sacks. And we'll score a shitload of points and it will be a non-issue. And that's essentially what I'm going to ask of the Texas defense. Because, yes, we know Oklahoma State has not they've cracked 31 one time, and they haven't really shown anything. They've had one road game at Boise State, by the way, which is a tough game.
Mm-hmm.
But, so somebody's watching this video like, what have you seen? We let people get going for whatever reason. So until I see it from the defense, I can't give them the benefit of the doubt in terms of points, but I will give them the benefit of the doubt in terms of getting some turnovers. They've been getting turnovers. BJ Foster had an interception last week. Ben Davis forced a fumble. Like every week we've been getting our hands on the ball. So I do think we'll have an opportunity to get some turnovers. And then offensively, it has to be the 45 and up plan. Got to get 45 points or more. Now, we scored 48 last week and lost. So we got to, I think we can hit that number again. I'm going to go 48-36 Texas, and we look good in front of these recruits. Now, I believe what was your score? I had 48-36. You had 38-31.
38-31.
So we both have the over. So y'all hit up busr.com. You got both of our predictions now.
And the over on the points,
on
right?
The total. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Total is at 60. So busr.com/fanatic should have details on the contest, hopefully over the weekend, to share with you guys. Stay tuned. busr.com/fanatic. Hit up that promo code sports100FP, matching all free play and deposits with 100% free play, 5-time rollover. Check us out. We appreciate our sponsors. Thank you very much. For supporting our content. And for those of you out there, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit that like button. Share with a friend. Welcome all the Oklahoma State fans that are watching and whatnot. I know we have some supporters out from Gundyville watching us. So we appreciate you guys. And Tran, everybody out there, remember, Longhorns always up.